down to a lovely place. You said this is where I go. You took me down to a lovely place. You said this is where I go. My heart's not quite in this race. I want it all to be slow. Oh, don't you feel the time has come for you to see the light? Don't you feel the time has come for you to see the light?
A recent research study looked at porn use across Christians and non-Christians, or really they said churchgoers and non-churchgoers. And they came up with a very interesting result. So they said, look, at this level of porn use, how much of guilt and shame was there among those who were churchgoers and those who are not? And the results, which as Christian therapists we could have said, was that those who are non-churchgoers are saying, oh yeah, I watch once a week and I'm fine. I'm fine with that. And churchgoers were saying, I watch once a week, I feel so guilty and so ashamed. Because you actually know that porn is not how God wants you to experience the good gift of sex. So you have shame and guilt.
Unfortunately, it's one of those things it's a very taboo subject, and it's something that's a bit awkward to talk about, and we're sort of not really sure how to approach the topic, and I guess there's a lot of sense of guilt and condemnation around it, especially as Christians. We all are told we should know better, or we should save ourselves from marriage and all that sort of thing. So I think that actually makes it worse because we hide it, we don't want to talk about it, we don't want to be open about it, which actually causes it to fester, and as anything, like sin in the dark will fester.
I was a young man of prayer and faith, and I did want to be a good faithful young man. But I was really starving. I think I was really starving for love and intimacy, and love and intimacy are things that we need, I think, as humans to flourish. And even though it was a very distorted understanding of love and intimacy, I truly believed that pornography, sex outside of marriage, having a girlfriend and experimenting sexually would have satisfied those desires, because of my poor understanding of what the context of sexuality is and where it's meant to be.
Having sex release 5 or 6 natural chemicals in the brain. But having porn, there's a problem because people look at porn, maybe many pictures per minute. So in 1 minute they have massive release of dopamine and massive release of serotonin. The activity takes place in the midbrain, in the primitive part of the brain, which doesn't require too much thinking. So this, and also lacking dopamine in the prefrontal cortex, because dopamine is not here, going to midbrain, make us less able to judge right and wrong, less able to concentrate, less able to forward thinking, and also learn from experience.
Even those control systems in your brain, which we know are found in a part of the brain called the frontal parietal lobe around there, they actually shrink. I mean, we can see them shrink. So you can't, this is when you enter a point where you say, I hate what I'm doing, I don't like it, but I can't help myself. You even lose self-control. We have circuits that draw us to another person, and this is what we call falling in love. It uses the circuits of the chemical dopamine, and it involves what we call our reward circuit. So when you fall in love, you have this burst of dopamine, and it draws you to that person. And then that you're looking for the reward of being with that person. Porn uses that same circuit by overloading it with easy, anonymous, available sexuality.
In the past, people are discontinuous. They buy Playboy magazine in the 70s, and then after the magazine is gone, they wait for another issue. But now we found that the masturbation become many times per day. For young people, they may do it 3 times a day at the age of 12. That will be destroying the brain. Why is that? In some study, they found that when you do this porn, they release chemical massively, quickly. Each time you look at a young woman's picture, release it. Bang, 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 bang. It's like hitting your brain with these chemicals. So it will be making the brain looking ugly. Like a drug for you.
Teen brains are particularly sensitive because they are in a stage of rapid development. So you take a brain that's in rapid development and then you put in this stimulus which changes, sensitizes, desensitizes. What do you have? You have brains that are very vulnerable to porn use. This is why we need to be talking to our children. And now we say talking to our children when they go to primary school. Because the average age of porn exposure in Australia is 11 years and dropping. We think it's more like 8 years.
Our little boys are seeing torture porn, rape porn, incest porn, sadism, and they think this is normal. And then we express surprise about violence against women. Look at the formative landscape for our boys. Look at the training they're getting. Look at the training ground, the formative environment for our boys. And I don't believe that we can make a dent at all in the epidemic of violence against women without addressing the eroticization and glamorization of violence that occurs in pornography.
I go and speak in schools and I get emails from children. I'm saying children, like 12 years, 14 years, who are compulsively viewing porn. And what's it doing to them? You see, there is a shame and a guilt that is involved, especially if you're a Christian kid.
So the highest consumers of porn are aged between 12 and 17 years of age, so our teenagers are really struggling with it. And this is an issue because most young people are turning to porn before they're getting some sort of sexual education. And obviously the parents are a bit too awkward to talk about it, so the kids are looking for it somewhere. And often that seems to be porn, and so they're seeing porn, these movie sets, these amateur videos, as some sort of sense of reality, which is far from the truth.
See, what do? You're 14, you're compulsively watching porn, your brain sort of at a point when you know it's awful, but you can't resist it, it's driving your brain. Do you know how horrible it must feel to go up to your mom or dad, who are also Christian parents, and say, I'm struggling with pornography? It's not easy.
Boys are learning a lot about effing, but they're not learning about making love, and there's a big difference.
Yeah.
There's a big difference, and I think the tragedy is that many of our young people won't know that there's something else. I've interviewed hundreds of girls about their sexual experiences, and they described feeling used, feeling like a piece of meat, feeling like a crash test dummy for some guy to have a good time with. 88% of scenes in the most popularly viewed pornographic videos depict violence against women, and women are depicted as enjoying that violence. So boys are being socialised and conditioned to think that girls will love anything that is done to them. The other consequence we are seeing is a rise of child-on-child sexual assault, a quadrupling in 4 years, according to the Australian Bureau of Statistics. Children acting out sexually on other children at rates never before seen. Children are acting out what they are seeing in pornography.
I've been working with a number of men. They find that it's hard for them to marry. Well, very interesting. So I saw a man with compulsive masturbations. He's a very handsome man, but they found that he couldn't get any woman interested in him.
So as a single man or woman, it becomes an easy outlet to sexual urges. But it also becomes a block to your looking for real relationships.
So when you see, when a man see the porn, they release calming chemical, they're interested in it. Make sense? So when they see a real girl, they're not interested in it. They don't release it because the girl have clothes on. Got it? It's not that arousing for them. So the man doesn't release the chemical that much. And the woman couldn't pick up. and the man is confused because he look at porn alone by himself at nighttime. So release good chemical, calming chemical when he's alone at nighttime, when he's looking at porn. But then with a girl, at the daytime, whatever, it's not releasing that much. So he feels more anxious talking to a girl. Once they stop masturbation, they work on the issues, they become more confident to approach other girls. Same with other women.
I was not totally free from pornography when I started to date Madeline, right? But I think there was a certain level of freedom that I was already experiencing before I felt I was actually capable of being able to love her the way she deserved to be. So one of the first questions, believe it or not, she hit me with on our first date was, do you struggle with pornography? And I absolutely love her for that. I really do. I thought that took a lot of strength. Had I have had to be able to say to Madeline that night, I'm a porn addict every day, like I can't break free, nowhere near ready, it would have been prudent for her to step back and say, look, I think you need to, I'll keep praying for you and everything, but, maybe try and, get to a high level of freedom first. But, if someone is really on their way to breaking free, I think sometimes experiencing that love and mercy from another human being can sometimes be a real aid to speeding up that process to freedom.
The man come to see me, regretful, shameful. I said, when do you have this problem? Oh, as a young man, I have this problem. But did marriage help you? No. Marriage didn't solve the problem.
In marriage, there is nothing called good porn or a little porn. Sometimes couples say we watch porn together and it helps our sex life. I ask them to rethink that, because you watch porn and then you have sex. You're not making love to your partner. Your fantasy is of your porn star. So you're actually making love to your porn star, not to your partner.
I'm seeing more and more people with these problems. First of all, they come as with depression, they have anxiety or family issues. But when I ask them more and more, they said, yes, I have this problem. Is this a problem? I said, look, do you think it's a problem? Oh yeah, I feel that I'm losing control. I do more and more. I know that I'm not interested in my wife anymore. Instead of going to sleep with my wife, I look at TV, look at porn, and then I do all this kind of masturbation. I feel guilty. And then I feel more and more distant from my wife. I don't know what to do.
Doctors are testifying to this now, counsellors, the inability of men to have normal sexual relationships with women. Women, as I've already said, feeling objectified, feeling used, having to provide what's known as PSE, the porn star experience. I know a woman who was newly married and her husband wasn't really that interested in her, and she said, what can I do to make it more like porn for you, because she knew he'd been watching porn. So women feel they have to adopt these pornified roles and behaviours to please the men in their lives, which is really demeaning and degrading. And some women feel that when men are looking at porn, they're actually cheating on them. And yet I know women who are being told in counselling sessions, oh, the problem's actually with you, you need to lighten up a bit, you must be hung up and frigid because all men watch porn, and you need to really, cater for what he wants.
So these problems start from young age, and then it will not stop because of marriage. So we found that celibacy is not a problem. Marriage is not a solution. Some people, they have what we call PIED, porn-induced erectile dysfunctions. It's a new term.
when a person watches porn, your brain reaches a point when porn is what turns you on. Your partner no longer turns you on. So what are we seeing? We are seeing men who have erectile problems because only porn turns them on. The wife, the girlfriend no longer turns them on.
A lot of people discover that a lot of young people at the age of 19, 20, 21, they have no morning erections. They have no erection for a long time.
I've spoken to teenage girls whose boyfriends cannot complete the sex act without pornography playing in the background. These are teenagers, and the girls don't necessarily even think that's that unusual.
I saw some men, they were in the 40s, they have no erection with their wife. They have only erection looking at porn because of conditioning. Yeah? So I said to them, you wait for 2 months, it'll come back to you. How do you know? Later on they upset, they come back. Yeah? For the younger one, 19, 20, 21, they look at porn daily, 3 times masturbation since they were 14. By the time they were 20, 21, they said to me they have no erections. The researchers found that shocking to them to find how come the older, younger guy take longer time? Because of high-speed internet. Bang, 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 bang. It causing the neurotransmitter to be crushed. Like we have these neurotransmitters. Suppose we got 3 here. We send a signal here, lock, and fire. Suppose this is dopamine, fire. Another one, suppose this is serotonin, fire. Suppose dopamine, lock, and fire. But you have massive release of those chemicals. So suddenly you got 5 release. Bang, 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 bang. What happened is those receptor site get jammed, get crushed. Got it? So when they get crushed, so they're not properly. So next time you have no erections. But the good news is it takes some time for them to come back.
It is a problem for some women and some girls, yes. The little bit of research that we know about this indicates that a lot of girls use pornography because their boyfriends want them to. And it's expected of them that they will consume pornography with the man in their lives. The other thing we know is that for a lot of women and girls, they're looking for a storyline. They're looking for like a romantic type story. They're actually not looking for what a lot of the men and boys look at. They also don't spend as long online looking at porn as men and boys do. So it seems to be it seems to be somewhat differentiated, the reasons they're looking.
We used to think that girls don't watch porn. Actually, a third and rising of porn users are women. So when young women, girls, teens, pre-teens watch porn, they are accepting that pornified image as normal behavior. So they are seeing that they're beginning to believe that power rests in looking sexual, in behaving sexually, in accepting the sexualized norms of behavior.
This topic is for everyone, and this issue is for everyone, no matter how old or young you are. I remember after a talk I had a 15-year-old girl come up to me saying she'd been a porn addict since she was 11.
But it's mostly women and girls that are going to be victims of the sexualized behavior and attitudes of the men and boys in their lives, and I think that's the bigger concern. Every woman and every girl is affected by a pornographic environment, the normalization and acceptance of a pornified world. And that's not just in materials that are labelled pornographic. This is in advertising and marketing and fashion and music. This bombardment of stereotyped images of women in highly sexualized ways, depicting them as available for consumption, to be used, to be objectified, to be consumed by men. So even if it's not specifically porn that is being viewed, you're still living in pornland, a pornified world. And I don't believe that we can make a dent at all in the epidemic of violence against women without addressing the eroticisation and glamorisation of violence that occurs in pornography. A woman that I know who directs a sexual violence prevention service on the Gold Coast has told me that they have seen a rise of very specific injuries in their clients because the abusive partner was watching porn and has been acting out violently in pornographic ways on his partner.
We are seeing in sexual health clinic girls who are coming with after having anal sex and damaged genitals and saying it's because their boys want to behave like porn stars. This is the reality. Girls are accepting the pornified behavior of today.
I have year 7 Anglican girls in a school I won't name asking me about bondage and S&M, asking me if he stalks me, does that mean he really likes me, because they've all seen 50 Shades of Grey. I have had year 7 girls ask me, how do I say no without hurting his feelings? They are more concerned about his feelings than they are about their own sense of well-being and bodily integrity and self-respect. So our women and girls are being disempowered in this pornified environment because it's so normalised. Girls are putting up with violent acts because they look at the broader culture and they look at the acceptance of pornography. So if they don't like something, they think there's something wrong with them, rather than saying, well, there's something wrong out there in pornland. They tend to internalise it and think they must be prudish or hung up to object to this behaviour.
So I'm the founder of the Braveheart Project. So basically we're an organisation dedicated to educating young people on the harmful effects of porn, so especially teenagers at high schools and even some of the junior high.
Just recently I've launched my own speaking ministry called Fire Up Ministries. We'll be going into high schools, Catholic parishes, Christian parishes, helping run retreats and so on.
It takes a movement to change this, a grassroots campaigning movement that empowers and equips women to stand up for themselves, to act personally and to act politically. And I have young women writing to me and saying that after hearing me speak and hearing Collective Shout's message, they've said no to sending sexual pictures, they've said no to sex that they don't want. They've decided to delay, radical notion for someone who might actually like them and care about them.
As a church, we need to talk about sex as God's good gift to us. And the whole Bible speaks to that. We only have to look at the 8 chapters of erotica, which we call the Song of Songs, which is husband and wife having this great sex. Husband and wife having great sex. So the whole Bible speaks to it. We need to be able to speak and preach to that sex positive message. Then we help people deal with the way society has twisted and just brought in issues like pornography.
We need men to be good role models. Our boys aren't going to see what healthy masculinity looks like from rap artists and often, sadly, sports stars and celebrities. They're going to learn toxic versions of masculinity from mainstream popular culture. So where are the men that can say, this is what healthy masculinity looks like, this is how you treat women with respect?
We aren't supporting our singles enough. We need a support system in our churches that reaches our singles and says, look, we are here for you. We understand how difficult it is. Let's help you build relationships. Let's support you through the hard times.
First of all, I ask them first questions. Tell me reasons why you need to change. This is the most important. Give me 3 reasons why you need to stop. For example, I want to love my wife, it's for my virtues, I feel not good, all this. So by talking about it, let a person come back to the awareness that I want to change. Change must come from within, isn't it? Not from outside. I said, why do you want to change? Oh, because my wife wants me to change. Not enough.
Because neuroplasticity exists, we can use the very circuits that make us want porn to recover. So anything that is wired can be rewired. And the basis of management of porn use is rewiring the brain.
Having someone to talk to is always helpful. They don't need to get a professional person to help them if they could make themselves accountable. Like a lot of essay group, they're very good. Working in group is better for men because the men, they want to compete. Oh, I've not done this for 5 days or 5 weeks, they feel proud. So they go there, oh, I haven't done it. So this kind of competition for men is quite good to work in a group.
I actually was in a small group with about 12 young guys, all about my age, sort of, early 20s. Without sort of, bringing anything to our attention beforehand, our small group leader says to us, right, we're going to talk about porn and lust tonight. And all of us are sort of freaking out, sort of looking around, we're all starting to sweat a bit and get nervous. And it actually ended up being an incredible night for us. Like all 12 of us actually went around the circle, opened up about our own porn struggles, and guys I do life with every day that I had no idea that struggle with it. And so, one by one we all told our stories and realised that all of us had been struggling with it recently or currently were. And we found just talking about it it just broke some sort of hold. Like it was just this weight off our shoulders that we didn't sort of, damn ourselves in a sense. Like we were sort of like, okay, we're actually normal, we're okay. Like we're all in this together, we'll help each other through it.
Talk to someone, a pastor, a priest, someone you trust that can help you, but make yourself accountable. Don't just go there once a month. Next time you come back, look, how's your impurity issues? I've done it. Yeah, what happened? Let them talk about it. By talking about it, they have less arousal. Become more conscious of it.
I think I always kind of say, look, the main two things is you got to do everything humanly possible that you can do on your own. Get an internet filter. Get someone that you can stay accountable to. Do as much as you can on like a physical level, but then really turn to God in prayer as well. In all humility, I think it's really healthy for anyone that has been a porn addict, just to wake up every morning and ask God for the grace to live pure just today, not to kind of view the mountain of the rest of my life. I can't ever look at pornography ever again. But just to get up and say, right, for this next 12 to 16 hours, like, Lord, give me the grace to not view pornography. Every time you say no, to pornography because you're saying yes to authentic love. Just like you can develop a bad habit with your sexuality, I think you can develop a good habit with love.
Aren't you excited that we worship a God who, even in the worst place, will regenerate our brain, that we can recover?